And I'm going to pull up my own Facebook page really quick just to check this while we're doing it. And it's just...
Is there a kitty in the background?
Yeah, he's just uncontrollable. So
cutie.
I think, sweet, we are live. I'm just checking. I see you. Perfect. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this Facebook Live. This is a new series I'm going to be doing on Facebook Live. My cat's joining me. Where I'm going to be talking to other travelers that I find really inspiring so that we can learn their story and learn from them, become more mindful travelers, better travelers, smarter travelers, all that great stuff. So today I am with Chantel Loura of Voyaging Vagabond, and we're going to be talking about travel inclusivity. This session is going to be great for travelers as well as travel bloggers. Chantel is one of my favorite content creators. If you are not following her on Instagram, Voyaging Vagabond, she has really nailed how to grow a community with storytelling, not just posting the same old photos that everyone is, but all her photos just always have this like amazing background story. I've definitely like teared up reading your captions before.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So
Kleenex endorse me.
I know. Oh my gosh. Like literally that would actually be a really good partnership. So instead of me telling you all about her, I am going to let her. So thank you, Chantel, for taking the time to chat with us and share your insights on travel inclusivity. Just to start, can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into travel?
Yeah, first, let me thank you for having me on this live. I'm so excited. We're going to have a great time. So just a little bit about how I got into traveling. So I went on my first international trip when I was 9.
Oh my gosh.
I am the product of 2 like very proud Portuguese immigrants, and they were extremely insistent that my brother and I go back to Portugal so that we could better understand their humble beginnings. I mean, my mom didn't have shoes until she came to the United States. And she really just didn't want us to take what we have for granted. So it's kind of a way to go back and learn to appreciate that a bit more. And honestly, I can still remember how awestruck I was just leaving the airport. I genuinely felt like I was in a whole new world. Like this was nothing I knew. And I'll tell you what, man, it was literally in that instance that the travel bug just stuck his teeth super deep into me. And honestly, that travel bug has just not let go since. So once I really got to an age where I could kind of figure out what my path would be, I just did everything in my power to make a career out of it because I just wanted to feel like that new feeling all over again. And that was why I created Voyaging Vagabond. I had been doing a bit of traveling and I just wanted, it started off just as like a hobby blog. I feel
like that's pretty common. Like everyone's like, let me just keep up with family and friends. And then it turns into something totally different.
Well, for myself, my biggest thing was when I first started traveling, I remember how much research I did. I remember like researching, like, what does a hostel bedroom look like? Like yes. Just trying to like get some insight into all of this like new territory I was entering. So I really started it just as like a way to give back to the travel community for like, as like a thank you for helping me get along when I first started. And then after some time went on, I found myself focusing more and more on my own experiences as a plus size woman. And, you know, I really shied away from that for a really long time. I was kind of ashamed of it for a while. And so it wasn't until I started sharing that narrative that I realized how desperately people needed to hear it. And so after 3 years of running this blog, I decided at that point I was starting to figure out what my brand was. And then I took everything that I thought I knew and I threw it out the window. And so I created this complete brand shift that really, I really just wanted to find a way to embrace and celebrate all of these different diverse groups. And so I decided to focus more on my experience as a plus size traveler and then focus on different shapes, sizes, backgrounds, and just give them that space. I find that traveling empowered me so much And it made me so much prouder of who I was and what I was capable of doing. And I really learned to love myself in ways that I didn't realize I needed to love myself. So creating Voyaging Vagabond, I really just wanted to inflict that in somebody else, like teach them how they could feel those same ways.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great way. Well, one, I feel like a lot of bloggers are afraid to do things that are niche and or different. Like a lot of, even because I teach the blogging courses, a lot of people want to just do general travel and they're like, well, I've seen people do this and I want to do that. And there's something really powerful from like a business and brand perspective of doing something that is different.
Yeah.
And especially when you could speak to a community of people, like if you exist, then the, you know, other people in your community must exist.
Definitely.
Create like a space for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely didn't realize like how relatable my stories and experiences were until I started talking about them, like not being able to find shorts ever. And I just talked about it because it was something that I went through and it was like a moment for me. And so many women were like, I went through that too. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting time because I feel like people are starting to warm up to being a little more vulnerable online, more so than maybe in the past. Like even myself, different experiences, but it is like when you share these things that you're like, is this weird? Should I share that? People like, they want to connect with these things that
100%.
they're thinking too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny.
I agree.
It's totally great. Like it's one of the good things about the internet is like connecting us all.
Yes. And realizing we're not alone. You're not alone.
Exactly. So to start, can you share some of the issues that you've noticed that currently exist in the travel industry?
Oh man, you know, the biggest one for me personally is definitely representation. I genuinely just feel like over and over again, we're seeing the same travelers. And it's that woman with her flowy dress and Bali and her boyfriend with his six-pack abs hopping off of a waterfall. And like the issue with this is that now it's to a point where like that's all we're seeing on social media. It's what we're seeing in marketing campaigns. It's what we're seeing in travel magazines. And, you know, now that that's the case, other influencers or professionals or travel bloggers or travel writers, they're adopting that same model because they're seeing that it's working. So what we see is the same people, you know, in their flower baths, which I'm not going to lie, a flower bath is great. But that same image that you're seeing over and over again. You're seeing, you know, that girl in her flower bath, you're seeing that couple kissing on a train, and you're seeing like
the I'm thinking of the floating breakfast too.
Oh, floating breakfast. Definitely. But now, like, you know, what's happening is that we present this photo, we're on our feeds. This person is just slapping a preset on it. They are writing this basic caption, just thanking whoever sponsored them. And we're just applauding it. And over and over again, like everyone's like, oh, 6,000 likes. And it's just like, but I'm seeing this a million times already. And like, for me, we're just hearing their experiences over and over and over again. But what I'm concerned with and what I fight for is, what about those people that don't fit into this cookie cutter mold?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what about those fat, queer, people of color? You know, what about all of those different people? And then not only that, but I mean, what about people with, you know, mobility issues? What about, you know, travelers who may be traveling while deaf or blind? Like these people are out there traveling, and those are the narratives that I want to hear about. I don't want to see the same person over and over again. And, you know, I find myself often coming back to this statement, but if your hostel dinner looks like the United Nations, then why doesn't the travel industry look the same way?
Yeah.
I just think that it should be representative of what this community really is. And it's not that traveler, and it's not that couple, those two people. I feel like we've seen a lot of industries benefit and profit from inclusion. And it's just really time that the travel industry does too. I feel I feel like
like on like who the brands hire, I'm like, that could definitely be a little or maybe a lot more diverse than like who you for campaigns. And
there are thousands of people that look so different from one another, that have a disposable income but are terrified to go traveling because they don't see themselves traveling, they don't see themselves in influencers, they don't see themselves in campaigns, so they genuinely feel that they can't do it. So for me, I feel this immense responsibility to step up and be like, no, 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 we're out here, we are here, and you should be here too.
And that's a great point too, because I think that's like like maybe something some people don't think of. Like maybe they've heard, oh yeah, more people need to be represented, and maybe they think that's just because, you know, that's the right thing to do. But it's also that next step, like you're saying, like if people are not seeing themselves in these destinations, having these experiences, they might not think that's like something that they're included in literally in like real life that they can actually
love.
Yeah. So going a bit deeper on that, have you encountered any specific instances on your travels where you've thought like, yeah, we've got some work to do here in terms of inclusivity in travel?
You know, not so much on my travel, but more so when I talk about my travel. You know, I often talk about themes that are true to me. So my experiences as a plus size queer woman, and you know, the difficulties that I face and the challenges that I go through, and moments like pushing through and backpacking throughout the world, and just like learning to love myself, or like even going as far as like wearing a two-piece bathing suit. I
Sorry for that, by the way. I'm listening to you here, but also trying to interact on my phone. So
no, you're good. You're good. Tell them I said hi. But no, I mean, we're just, oh, I lost my train of thought. And here it is. It's when I talk about these moments and I receive comments from women that, or messages from women that are thanking me. You know, they're applauding me and they're thanking me for my bravery. And what I don't understand is, if I'm just out here living my best life and being fabulous while doing it, why is that considered brave?
Yeah.
Like why is that something that, you know, people are thanking me for? I just want it to be normalized. And you know, a lot of times I'll get these messages from women that will tell me that they were scared to wear a two-piece until they saw me in it. They were scared to go to a region because they didn't think it was plus size friendly. And it's when I get those messages that I'm like, okay, that's a problem. If this is how people think, and not just one person, but multiple people, then that's something that we need to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said before, your Instagram does such a great job of just like, I don't know, making everything, like you said, look fabulous, like just great storytelling, but you always look like you're just like having such a great time. But then there's like a beautiful story attached. I love it so much.
Yeah, behind the scenes, I'm just eating a lot of snacks. So like, it's like fabulous picture, snack.
That's a part of travel, an important part. So one thing I love about what you do through Voyaging Vagabond, like I said, is you're an incredible storyteller, particularly on Instagram. So I'm curious, what advice would you give to someone trying to use storytelling as a weapon for change?
Yeah, you know, those stories that I share are me. Like how we're talking right now is exactly how I would write. So much so that my friends will oftentimes be like, Chantel, every time I read your caption, I just imagine it in your voice, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it's a good thing.
Okay, thank you. No, my captions are really what I find them to be, are conversations. There's really a lot of power in being your true, confident self. And there's really a lot of power when your core root and the reason you want change is out of love. And I feel like that just comes across when I write. I don't do it, like the whole reason I started Voyaging Vagabond, I didn't do it to get 1 million followers, and I didn't do it for the money, although money's nice. But the core of it, those weren't the reasons that I did it. So when I write, that's not why I write it. I do it because there's a problem.
Yeah.
I do it because there's really just a problem with women not believing in themselves. You know, I've been there and I've felt that loneliness, and I know how difficult that moment is. So I write for those women. I write for those women who are like me, that have spent so many years just hating themselves and self-doubting themselves. And I want to create a dialogue to let them know that they're not alone.
I love that. I feel like too, like just one problem I see on Instagram specifically is just like we were saying, like the copycat, and then just, you know, the quote, or, and I post quotes sometimes too.
Yeah, everyone loves a quote.
But I think the difference is people who are just doing it for likes versus having a true purpose of some kind, even if it is maybe a smaller purpose that isn't, you know, maybe you're not changing the world, but you are trying to show people the best yoga retreats in the world, whatever that is, but at least having some kind of thing that you're like, I really want to get this message across to people.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much easier to be yourself, especially if it's something you're passionate about.
Exactly. Because it's something that you genuinely feel. It's, you know, everyone's like, oh, we always use the word authentic, but it's authentic. It really is. Like
sometimes it's like, it's a real, like, it's a good time to use the word authentic.
Yeah, exactly. 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 But I mean, like, if that's what you're passionate about and that's what you want to write about, then go for it. I mean, don't just do it to just appease some number or some algorithm. Just do it because you either see an issue, you see the change that it could create, and you do everything in your power to get people to that change because you know it's something better. Even if it is just a yoga retreat. I love yoga because sometimes I'm fat and lazy, and it helps me move around, and it feels good for my limbs, and it's not as intensive as like CrossFit. Like I'm not.
Oh my gosh, no way. No CrossFit.
No CrossFit. Hashtag no CrossFit. But you know, like if you know about those benefits, then talk about them, because people like me are definitely listening.
Yeah. And I do think too, I heard of one of my friends in PR actually talking about, just going back to Instagram for a sec, the problem with copycat content. I actually see that being a problem in the future, because she was saying that, like, when she goes to some of her clients, they're like, what's the difference between these two people? And it's really hard for her to really say, because, you know, maybe one is a little bit bigger of a following or whatever, but at the end of it, it's really, really similar. So that's another benefit of having, you know, a mission from a business standpoint, if you are an Instagrammer.
Exactly. You know, people share your experiences, but they're not sharing your specific experiences. And I talk about my experiences all the time. And those are moments that are for me that I'm sharing. And you can't copy that.
Yeah.
If someone tried to talk about, you know, posing in a two-piece in some beach in Southeast Asia and like tried to use my lingo, it just wouldn't be the same, because this is me, you know?
Yeah. No, totally. And I feel like that too. I think it's when people are speaking conversationally, like you do. I do this a lot in, like, email is my big thing. And I always am trying to like, you know, I put emojis in there. I like tell little jokes and stuff, because it's how people feel like they're really talking to me versus like getting a marketing email or like a, you know, whatever, like a boilerplate social media share, whatever it is.
I'm always like, LOL, just like laughing at my own professional comments. Like, should I put LOL in an email? Like, should I not be laughing out loud?
I do that all the time. Like, I am funny, okay?
Yeah, LOL.
So I know, like, you're very active on Instagram. What do you think makes Instagram a great platform for creating change and encouraging inclusivity in travel?
Well, the thing I love most about Instagram is this sense of community. A lot of people like to bash social media. They say it creates these false expectations. But for me, using my social media has always been to find my community, to find those people that needed to hear my voice. And And so like I constantly feel like I have 3,000 people just in my corner all the time. Like I'm very open and honest, you know, there are times where like I don't want to get out of bed or I'm just having a really difficult day and I'm always super honest about it. And I find that people, at least the community that I've created, like they're just very empowering. Back in December, I took like a whole month off, which like is social media suicide.
Yeah. So needed sometimes.
I needed it. I needed it. And it started off like, oh, I'm just going to take a couple of days off. But then like a week went by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I had people reaching out and they were like, hey, I'm just checking in. I noticed you haven't been on for a while. Like, just want to make sure everything's okay. So like they care so deeply about me that I care so deeply about them. And these are people that I've never met, but they're honestly the reason that I fight as hard as I do. You know, I'm lucky enough that Instagram really allowed me to be part of like this groundbreaking movement of travel inclusivity. And being part of that just like really empowered myself and my brand. So, you know, the other great thing is that we can take actions, like we can reach out to repost accounts and, you know, let them know that maybe all travelers aren't being represented. And we can start filling those Instagram feeds with real travelers rather than just seeing that same cookie cutter all the time. You know, leaders like myself and other folks in the travel inclusivity movement, they can really be conscious of making sure that all bodies are being seen, that all narratives are being heard. We want them to hear their voices in us, and we want them to see themselves in us.
I love that. So I'm curious, just going back to something you said. So you reach out to some of these repost accounts and you kind of tell them like, hey, you know, your feed is not representing everyone.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do that where they're not getting defensive, but really like kind of accepting it in a more open-minded way?
It's just more so being conscious. So Annette Richmond, who runs Fat Girls Traveling, is actually the one who started it first, because that girl has way more cojones than I do. So she was like calling them out and being like, like, I don't see any fat people. We're the fat people, which is totally her personality. And I like adore that about her. So I try to be brave about it too. So I just try to be more mindful and I just reach out and I'm like, hey, just so you know, there's this hashtag, there's a bunch of different travelers included on it. I would love, you know, if when you're arranging your content, if you could take a closer look just to make sure we're being more representative. A lot of times I won't get an answer if we're speaking honestly.
Oh, wow.
Which is okay. It's okay. That happens. But it doesn't stop me. But sometimes you do get a message and it's someone that's like, oh, you know, that's a really interesting perspective. I didn't realize that it had that effect. I appreciate you pointing that out to me. And then, you know, it's really just opening that conversation and creating that consciousness within people to just kind of consider different perspectives and different voices.
I love that idea. And I feel like that's something anyone could do, even if you are maybe like, you know, maybe you're not fighting for your own look, like, but you could still point that out to an account that you see where everyone looks exactly the same. I love that.
When we were at TravelCon, I went to the diversity panel and someone mentioned how trans traveling really isn't a thing. You know, and that just blew my mind. I mean, like being a queer woman myself, like I didn't even take that into perspective. Like, oh, what about the trans community? They're out here traveling too. What's their narrative like? So since then, I've just really been trying to find trans travelers because I want to learn more about them. I want to know more about their perspective, you know?
Yeah, like off the top of my head, I don't think I can think of at least like a blog or Instagram account.
But if you know one, leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
If you know one, leave it in the comments. I want to know. I want to find them. I want to be their friend.
Me too. That would be, and it's great to like find these accounts and like then support them. And
yeah, definitely.
But I love that tip too of just like, yeah.
Call them out. And it doesn't have to be rude. It's just opening a conversation, creating a dialogue.
Yeah. So one story you recently told on Instagram was about how you and your girlfriend Steph traveled to Thailand and marked your 22nd country traveling as an openly gay couple. So congrats, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
My partner and I have only been to 3 countries together, and I'm definitely excited to get our number up. But anyway, I was really happy to read that you noted that all of the countries you two have visited thus far have been really welcoming to you. And I'm curious what your trip planning process looks like. Do you look for any certain things to ensure it's gay friendly, or what does like a gay friendly or a gay friendly destination look like to you?
Okay. Honest answer, no. If we're speaking truthfully, the answer is no. Steph and I go places because we want to go, or more likely, I find a super cheap flight and I'm like, hey, we're going to Thailand. Our flight's on April 24th. Be there, be square.
Like, okay.
Yes, that's just like, all right, cool. What should I pack? But no, I think that there's an issue within the LGBT community when it comes to traveling, where it's oftentimes like where not to go as a queer traveler. And I think that narrative is just problematic. I think it builds fear.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steph and I have been together 8 years now. In August, it'll be 8 years, which is crazy.
Oh my gosh. I've never had a relationship that long. Congratulations.
My first one ever. I didn't foresee it being with a woman, but here we are. But no, we've been together for 8 years. So like our relationship is my normal. It's my life. We're together all the time. And since we've been together for 8 years, she's my first love. Travel is my second. So what I do is I just blend the two beautifully. And that's our normal. And, I'm very honest and I'm very open about it. A lot of times on my Instagram, she's constantly in my story,
Mm-hmm.
which she gets very proud about. She's like, you tagged me in your story, huh? And I'm like, yeah, but it's because I want people to see 2 women traveling together, madly in love, and not having issues, rather than thinking I can't go there because what if someone knows that I'm gay?
Yeah.
Being safe and being held back are 2 very different things. And while Steph and I are extremely conscious of like being safe as gay travelers, we never once let it hold us back. Like, I don't want my sexuality to hold me back. It doesn't define me. It's just part of me.
Yeah. I love that.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense too. Are there like when you go to certain places, like so you book the trip, are there any ever places where you kind of look into certain things just to say like, okay, maybe certain precautions need to be taken in a certain place, or it's like not so much like that?
A lot of times I think if it's like super religious, then like Steph and I are a bit more conscious. Like even going to Southeast Asia, we weren't like making out on the sidewalk, or like we like to like feel it out for a little. So
Yeah.
Maybe we won't hold hands right away. Like it's just kind of like acclimating ourselves to the culture and seeing what it's like. I mean, sometimes we get somewhere and we know that they love the gays. So, we're like la da da, hand in hand, walking down the street, no big deal. But for me, like that's what I look for in a gay friendly destination. I look for somewhere where I can be my truest self and I can walk down the street holding Steph's hand, enjoying the moment of us traveling together, and not be fearful of whether or not I'm safe as a queer woman.
Yeah.
It just lets me live my life in a way that feels really true. So that's really what I consider to be a gay friendly destination. But you know what, Jesse, I got to be real though. So Steph and I are totally privileged in the sense that we are considered passing. So like looking at us, you wouldn't know that we were queer right away. There are people that feel like they might not fit in that category.
Mm-hmm.
So I do really want to point out that, those destinations for travelers for the LGBT community that celebrate people in their truest form do exist. It's just a matter of doing a little bit of research. So you can find very gay friendly destinations. You can find gay owned businesses. You can find accommodations where the staff, there are gay people on it, which that's something you have to consider. And there are gay activities that you can do. It's just a matter of doing a little bit of research.
Yeah.
So if you are looking for something that is like extremely gay friendly, just type it in. And then do me a favor and ignore every single one of those articles that are like where not to go. Just
oh gosh, yeah.
Scroll to the next one that tells you to go to this place. Go to that place first.
Do you have any, like, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have any favorite resources for finding those things, or is it more just like a general Google search is what you would usually do?
So what I do is I follow a bunch of I follow a bunch of lesbian travel couples. So I check out where they went. I check out where they went. I check out what they did. I check out where they stayed. And sometimes I'll even reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm considering going to this place. You have any tips? So I really just seek out those people that maybe have already gone through it. And then there's a bunch of gay travel agencies. There's a bunch of gay travel magazines. I wouldn't say a bunch, but there's a good amount that you can always start your search in.
And that's great advice too. I always say that because I have a big solo female travel community, and like a lot of people ask me similar, like, how do you know where is safe? And similar, there's nowhere that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't go. Maybe there's some places I wouldn't go solo, but it rarely holds me back. It's more like, okay, I want to go here. What do I need to consider?
Yeah, exactly.
And then a lot of people will ask too, like, from the solo angle, like, oh, my family's worried. What do I do? I'm like, show them these other people that have already done it, these other solo female travelers, or reach out to those solo female travelers and ask them what their experiences were. That's a great thing about blogs too, travel blogs, is that you can find travelers that are like you, whether you're solo female or, a gay couple traveling, and you can actually talk to real people and get some good insight there.
Yeah, I mean, that goes right back to what we were saying about finding your community on Instagram. Those people exist and they're out there. It's just a matter of finding them. And a lot of times that I've reached out to people, and a lot of times I don't know these people, but I'm like, hi, I'm Chantel, and I really love your stuff. But no, I like to create relationships with these people because I do value their advice and I do value their opinions, and I do take that into consideration when I do travel. So it's a nice way of building your community. It's a nice way of building it's a nice way of showing someone that you appreciate their work so much, that you do want to create all this with them.
Yeah, especially because like a lot of your favorite content creators are spending a lot of time unpaid writing these articles. So it is really nice when people leave nice comments and email you or send a DM and just say like, your article helped me plan my honeymoon. Your article helped me plan like my vacation that I was really excited about. It means so much.
I just sent one yesterday. Someone helped me with a document I had to write, and they wrote a blog post about it, and I knew the person. So I was like, hey girl, just sliding in your DMs to let you know how helpful that article was.
Oh, that is the best.
Yeah, it's just, it's being real, and it's being a kind traveler and appreciative traveler, that these people are pouring their hearts and soul into this, and you're enjoying that information from them.
P.S. Kenny Raymond said, don't travel here for safety articles are the worst.
Yes. You know what, Kenny? I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
And Kirsty Leanne, but I don't know when she exactly said it. It's the same for disability and travel too. I think Kirsty might have been talking about representation, but correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I bet it is really similar, that it's like hard to find yourself totally represented in that space.
Yeah, but first off, one, I love Kirsty. That's my girl. Hey, girl. But number two, you're absolutely right. And, if you don't see yourself, then be that person. Mm-hmm. I tell people, I didn't see myself. For so long, I self-doubted myself, and I had these grand ambitions, and I put every single one of them on hold because I didn't think I could do it. I thought I had to look a certain way. I thought I had to lose weight. I thought I had to look like all of those other female travel bloggers. And then I said, screw it. I don't want to be like them. I'm me. And what I am is awesome. So I don't want to be like anyone else. So I decided to be one of those people that stepped up and decided to be the representation that other people may need. And the sad reality is that if you're not seeing it, then listen, you got to step up because it's your turn.
Yeah.
And I implore everybody, if they don't see themselves in the industry, then be that person, because it's really important. And we want you here. We need your voice here in order to be a better community, to be a better industry.
Yeah. From like a blogger, like if you want to do it professionally, it's an opportunity to fill a gap.
Yeah.
And even just as a, human being perspective, it's a great opportunity to inspire a community and, you know, create something that maybe is a hobby for you, but is still like something that can make a difference in the whole world, really.
Yeah, and make you a better person.
Yeah. So what do you think needs to change? We did talk about this a bit, but in the travel industry to make it more inclusive?
We need to start celebrating diversity. And I'm talking like shout it from the mountaintops, you know, put a parade in the street. We're here. No, I'm just kidding. I don't mean that. But it really just comes down to being more conscious of who we're celebrating.
Yeah.
It starts with working with influencers that look nothing like you because they share a different experience. And it's just making people more conscious of the fact that there are other capabilities. You know, we may go through a day and not realize that another person might go through struggles, whether it be, you know, an autoimmune disease, whether it be a mobility issue. We don't travel the same way. So we need to support and uplift these voices. I mean, just like you're doing for me right now, like we need to give them an amplifier because they deserve a space here.
Yeah. And even like, I'm just going beyond that, thinking of, I forget exactly what brand it was. It was a big brand, and they had it huge. It was a really big ambassador program, and it was literally 100% white men, no women, no people, nothing. And I did see like there was some voices coming up saying like, what is going on? But I think too, supporting brands that are not doing that and that you see are actually taking into consideration like, you know, diversity and wanting to share all these different voices. I can't even imagine like how they didn't even just look at a picture of all these people or like a collage and be like,
they all kind of look the same.
They all kind of look the same. Probably like maybe we should change this.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people that all the time, like, you know, even past the whole white perspective, but like the whole thing with diversity, like don't just go through a checklist like, okay, we have one white person, we have one Latina, we have one Asian, we have one Black person. Like, no, that is not how the world works. I feel like it's
solely to make people think that you're just like this ethical, well-rounded brand.
It just comes off as fake. I find that when people just include real people that are diverse, then that has a louder voice. And that's who I want to give my money to.
Yeah.
Those people that, you know, are conscious that they're not just doing it to check off some imaginative checklist. They're doing it because they know that this is what their audience looks like, or this is what their demographic looks like. And they do it because they're conscious that all of these voices deserve representation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes it is kind of obvious, like when it is very like calculated versus when it is just like genuine, like this is part of our brand and what we want to do and what we want to put out there.
Yeah. And then you'll find like once you start creating, you know, those authentic representations, like audiences crave that. Audiences really, really, really resonate that because they're seeing themselves in these people, you know, whether they may not look exactly like them or their stories or their backgrounds may not be exactly like them. They see something in them that like they're not going to see in some skinny white dude or some skinny blonde chick. Like,
yeah,
I'm not hating on those, but like it's time for other voices at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, you know, even when I think it was Dove, they did the body positivity campaign, and like a lot of people were like, oh, you know, skinny women aren't real women, but it's like, no, they are, but just they're not the only woman. We need, you know, all types of shapes and sizes and colors.
Yeah. You know, I have been seeing skinny mannequins my entire life. I cannot explain to you the feeling I felt when I walked into Target and saw a mannequin that looked like me. Like, I just remember stopping and looking at it and just being like, you did good, Target. You did good. Like,
that's amazing. I honestly haven't been, I'm sure I've been to Target in my life. This is kind of crazy because I live in the city, but I haven't been to Target since I was a kid. So like, that's great that they're doing that.
Jesse, that's a problem.
I know. There's so many stores, honestly, like,
but it's because you live in the city. It's different.
Yeah, I don't really. When I was little, I went to the mall, but yeah, like Walmart. I'm like, I think I've been there. Like,
no. No, I can't go into Walmart. I just go in. I'm like, oh, I should have went to Target.
Crochet. I've heard of that. I've heard of that nice store.
Yeah, right. That high-end Pinkies Up store.
Kenny says, I read an article recently about assistive devices being broken by airlines are an issue. So that might be part of Kirsty's point, but I also see it as an image missing as well for someone in inclusion. Kirsty then said back, yes, I have lots of disabled friends and friends with chronic illness who say that there's so many issues. And then Kenny says, one person also wrote how they bought a personal lift to help the airline move them from the chair to the seat, and an airline refused to use it and kicked them off. I think I read that article.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's really, really, really terrible. I vaguely remember, I think that was about like a month ago or so. Oof. Yeah, that's really, really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, even just as far as like, you know, plus size women being fearful of taking a flight because they might need a seatbelt extender. And I think that if you find that mobility is an issue, flying isn't the only way to travel. You can take a train, you can take a bus, you know, there's other ways to see the world. It doesn't have to be on a plane. And I think that traveling is for everybody. It's not exclusive to a certain type of person, shape, size, background, capability. It's not exclusive. And the beauty about traveling, it's what you make of it. The other day, so I'm in Rhode Island right now. And the other day, Steph and I decided to just drive up to Maine for the day. And, you know, it was like a 3-hour drive, but it was like a completely different change of scenery. And I had never been to Portland, Maine. So it was cool to like spend the day there. And, you know, I still got New City feels in the same way that I got them when I was in Lisbon or Melbourne. Like, you know, it's not exclusive to being an international country. You can still get those same feelings, and that travel bug can still hit you no matter where you are. So, you know, even if you can only go a half hour outside of your city, maybe an hour outside of your city, then that's still amazing. You can still see a bunch of different things that you never saw before.
Yeah, I feel the same with like, we do a lot of little road trips outside of the city to like Catskills or Hudson Valley. And
I love the Catskills and the Hudson Valley.
Beautiful. So much to do. And you don't have to like take a cab to the airport while carrying like so much luggage and all of that hassle, like going through the TSA check. And so it's also a lot easier.
It's definitely a lot easier. There's options for which way you're looking to travel. You don't have to go through TSA.
Yeah. So what are some of your travel brands, whether it's ski or hotel, something else, that are getting inclusive travel right? Maybe brands that you feel we should, as travelers, be supporting.
So the first brand that I think of is REI. I love REI because I think they're really inclusive and they're really conscious of celebrating diversity, and in a way that does feel authentic to not only their brand, but to who they're trying to reach. They just ran a campaign with some of my favorite Instagram personalities on there. So one of them is Kiona from How Not to Travel Like a Basic Bitch.
I started following her after your panel at Women's Travel Fest.
I love her. Dr. Kiona, I should say, because she is a doctor. She got a PhD, but she really uses her Instagram as a powerful tool to expose people to, you know, these social issues that maybe you might not be conscious of living as the type of person that you are. And it really makes you more aware of different perspectives. And then I also really love Phil from Phil Good Travel. He does a web series on YouTube with Matador Network, and his account, Phil Walkie, is just amazing. But they're two of my favorite influences, and they're constantly celebrating culture and diversity and the beauty and diversity and the beauty of representation and, you know, what we can do to make things better. And so to see a national brand stepping up and using those people in their campaign, it just shows me that, like, okay, REI, you're on the right track, and I like it.
Oh, I love that. And now I have to go follow this Phil person I've never heard of. I love like learning about new.
Milwaukee, he's amazing. He's one of my favorite Instagram stories to follow because I like openly chuckle when I'm watching him. Like,
Oh, that's the best.
yeah, I'll be like on the tee in Boston. I'll just be like, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm that person. Like
Social accounts that either make me laugh, make me think differently, or have animals,
yeah,
are my favorite.
yeah. Then Phil and Kiona are right up there. Like definitely follow them if you like to learn a little, but you like to laugh and enjoy a lot of beautiful things at the same time.
Ooh, I love it.
Oh, but I will also say that I love REI because it was where I bought my first backpacking backpack.
Oh,
I'm very I love traveling out of my backpack. I'm not a suitcase girl at all. Anyone that knows me, like my backpack is like my security blanket. Like there are times I have to like check it and I'm just like, oh, I hope it's okay.
yes.
I wonder what it's doing. But no, like, so I bought my first backpack back in 2014. And I remember just like going to REI and trying on the women's packs and feeling so embarrassed because the waist buckle wouldn't buckle. And like thinking like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Like maybe this lifestyle is not for me. And that their staff was just so incredibly kind and so incredibly patient and just so informative. And they literally spent ages just like hearing. They were like, okay, so where are you going? I was like, oh, I'm backpacking through Europe.
Just like learning the whole itinerary.
Yeah, they're like, where are you going? How long are you going for? What countries are you hitting? What do you want to put in your backpack? And like they really just took, like I was in there at least like once a week, just like checking in and being like, oh guys, like I'm worried about this. And they were like,
it's like a doctor, like you're like just coming in for the weekly checkup, but
yeah,
make sure everything's okay. I added
literally. I'm like, oh, like so how do I adjust the straps? And they're like, okay, we'll just give you a full class. And they really did. Like they really just made me feel like, you know, this lifestyle was for me. And like I said, like when I started doing it, I wasn't seeing myself. So to have someone like be so encouraging, I love them. They're great. And I'll sing their praises whenever I get REI.
Oh, that's awesome. Side note, there definitely should be a class on backpacking backpacks because I remember my first one, I spent, whatever, $150. Totally didn't fit, but I had no idea. And then yeah, by the time a week had gone by, I thought my back was broken. Yep. And I was in a tiny, tiny town like Dingle, Ireland. So I bought a new backpack from like, they had like 3 backpacks in the whole town.
Yeah.
And I ended up buying one that actually did fit, but yeah, I wasted 150. I totally just like left it in the hotel room because I was backpacking. It's not like I was gonna carry it around.
I teach classes at my local library, like travel classes from time to time. And I actually did one where I just like brought my backpack and like set it on the table, brought everything that I would bring on a trip. And I'm like, here's how I'm going to fit this entire table in my backpack.
That is such a good idea. You should, I'm like, okay, side note, because I do like the whole online course thing. I feel like there's room here for an online course.
Ooh, on how to pack a backpack. There's a lot of things that people don't consider when packing a backpack.
Honestly, I've seen profitable courses on like crazy things that you would think like this should be in person, but like even diving and stuff. I think that this would be an awesome online course if you ever want to like launch one on that.
She's like business tip for you.
Yeah, I just had to throw that.
Women supporting women. I like that about you. Love it.
So what are some ways travelers can help make the space more inclusive?
Number 1, start listening to people that look nothing like you. If you are scrolling on your feed and every single person looks the same and everyone looks like you, then you got to broaden your horizons and you got to do some research and find some people that look nothing like you. Because as travelers, we have this unspoken curiosity and it's like this desire to learn. And I feel like that should apply in real life, like, or, social media. But I feel like that same curiosity and that desire to learn should be applied to like learning about other people's narratives, learning about what everyone's day-to-day looks like. And if you're a blogger or a professional in the travel industry, then reach out to us. Like just like you reached out to me, like do collabs, amplify their voices, applaud them, like their stuff, I mentioned earlier, you want to like create these authentic relationships. And that's one of my favorite parts of social media, and how I've really found the inclusive movement to get as big as it's gotten. And it's getting bigger, but as big as it's gotten, it's really just people embracing us and finding ways to support us. You know, we're out here fighting to make sure we're getting seen, and not just for ourselves, but for all the people that it represents. And if you're genuinely in this industry to do good or make the travel community better, then it's really powerful, and it shows us a lot when you kind of embrace us and find ways to help us get seen.
I love that. And I was thinking too, like, as travelers, we all have a curiosity, or most of us have a curiosity to go to places and learn about different, you know, ways of life. So, you know, yeah, that same curiosity, like, bring it to social media and try to, you know, see other people's experiences.
Yeah. It just creates a better industry. It just creates a better person. And it just creates content that is deeper than like a sweet view and like a few hundred likes. Like it's content that like has a purpose, and it's inspiring change, and it's making a difference, not just to the person that you're supporting, but also all the people that will be affected by that person. So I think it just makes for a better
yeah.
I'm like, a better world.
I know what you're saying. I always say, like, it feels good to kind of digest content like that too, because like some of these photos that, you know, that we keep seeing, they're so beautiful, but like, you know, we've gone on these trips, you know, they're very, very staged.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very edited.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very, very templated, like what's said and everything like that. Whereas when you're kind of digesting this really authentic storytelling type content, it just feels really good, and really, it takes like the space, I guess, out of social media, and just makes you feel more connected. At least I feel that way when I kind of like, you know, look at accounts like yours, and yeah, it just feels like it's closing that space a little bit in the social media world.
Yeah, when I started like really being mindful of like, you know, taking a good picture, whatever that might mean, but you know what I'm trying to say. But when I became more conscious of it, people were like, oh my God, like you always look so great in your pictures and everything looks so perfect. And I was like, I hate that. Oh my God.
Like I want it to look good, but not, you know, not too good.
No, I want to keep it real. Like I'm all about keeping it real. And so like there will be times where on my story, I'll do like my Instagram version, but then like my real version, it's just me like, you know, looking a hot mess. I posted a picture not too long ago, but I was on like some swing on some gorgeous beach in Koh Lanta in Thailand. And I'm like posing on this swing and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so fabulous. And then you scroll the next video and it's me like wobbling on this swing, like, like almost falling off, like no abdominal muscles keeping me up whatsoever.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah. So like, I really think that like, you know, that's important. Like you can have your great photos and you can look really, really professional and well put together on social media, but don't forget that these people are looking up to you. And so it's important to let them know that like not every moment is perfect, and to be really honest about those moments that aren't perfect.
Yeah. I even, this is like related a bit, but I saw recently Kirsten Alana, who's a friend of mine, she's, you know, big Instagrammer. Mm-hmm. She posted something that I thought was really, really important, that like, I think before when you mentioned the train photo, it's the same one I'm thinking of, where the couple's like hanging out of the door and like you could die doing that.
Yeah. And I'm like, why is this coming up on my feed 12 times in one day?
So she basically posted like, we as travelers shouldn't be like liking this, and brands shouldn't be paying people who are doing this, because you're promoting this really unsafe activity that like people, you know, who really look up to these content creators and kind of like emulate them and copy them, they might go try to do that. So
yeah, it's weird.
So dangerous.
It's weird because like,
and nobody's actually kissing doing that. That has to be so highly staged. Like no one's like, I'm so in love. And you fall out the door and just start making out while holding on and getting a perfect photo at the same time.
You know, that poor boy holding himself up on that train with that girl on top of him is like, I might die. Like this, I am dying for the gram. Like,
yeah, no, really. Like,
that's in his head.
So that's just also something to think about when you're posting things, is that people do, sometimes copy what they see and they look up to you if you're someone they follow. So make sure what you're putting out there is something that you want people to see, and it's like the story you want to tell.
Yeah, it's sad too. I've noticed, especially this year, a lot of influencers passing away because
Yes,
of that.
yes.
And that's awful. That's absolutely awful. So, going on hikes, even though it's in restricted areas because you want to get that shot, like it's not worth it.
Not worth it. And yeah, you shouldn't be doing it yourself because it's unsafe, and you definitely shouldn't be posting it
and encouraging other people to do it.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. What advice would you give someone who wants to travel but maybe is nervous because they don't feel represented in the travel space? And you have given some good tips on this already, but I'm curious if you have any others.
Go. Number one tip. Go. Just go. Don't let social media dictate your life. Don't let it hold you back. And like I said, if you don't see yourself being represented, then step up and be that representation, Like I mentioned it before, traveling doesn't have to be exclusive to a certain person, and traveling is what you make of it. So like if you don't have the funds to hop a flight, or you can't because of mobility issues, then hop on a bus, hop on a train, go, like I said, go somewhere nearby from where you live. Like you're bound to find something.
I think too, like with travel, the beauty of it, like one of the beautiful things about it is that you go from your day-to-day grind to being curious. Like suddenly everything is interesting, from like the bakery desserts to, the parks, the way the shopping is set up. Like everything is just interesting.
Oh
So
yeah, I'm that
nearby. It's different. Like you said before, it's different. So you're still that curiosity is gonna be piqued.
Yeah, I'm that crazy plant lady. So I'm like, wow, we don't have plants like this in Rhode Island. Like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm that total nerd that's like checking out the different flowers that they have in the region. Like I'm weird like that. But like, what's really important is that my biggest advice is your life is your life to live. No one else has to dictate what your life needs to be except you. And so, what I tell people a lot, especially for myself, I always felt this really strong spark within me that I was like, this sounds so cocky and I don't want it to, but I always just felt I always just felt like I was destined for something way deeper than just like what my life was supposed to be. Like growing up in a small state. I grew up in Rhode Island. It's the smallest state in the United States. So like I just wanted to leave, and I felt like I was destined for so much more. And I genuinely felt this spark inside of me. And I know that there's other people outside there that think that, living this kind of lifestyle might be crazy, or even just like traveling more might be crazy. But like, if you feel that spark and that curiosity inside of you, then like you absolutely need to fan it. Like build that flame and just go.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't think that sounds cocky at all. I think that sounds like very, I'm sure it resonates with a lot of people, because at some point, most of us, I think, have thought of like, is this it? Is this like what my destiny is, or is there something bigger? And for a lot of us who travel very often, that is probably why we got into that. It's like, okay, I'm from New York, which is huge, but I'm still like, okay, I still need more. I still need.
Yeah. I remember
for good, but I still need to leave regularly.
I remember being like 19 waitressing, and I'm like, I'm destined for so much more than this. I'm at like a local pizza spot, like Chinese restaurant. Oh yeah, I was like, no, like there's more to life than this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And then Kate Holmes says, from Maine, clapping emoji. I'm mimicking the emoji. Oh, waving emoji. Sorry.
Maine was so much fun. I had a blast. I can't wait to come back.
I spoke at Women in Travel Summit, and Kate was the one who helped show me all the great spots. So
Kate, you're the best. Kate, show me all the spots when I come back, okay?
Oh, she's an amazing tour guide.
Okay, come find me, and we'll go. We'll make this happen.
Love it.
Yeah.
So one last question for you. Just shifting gears slightly to speak to those wanting to start mission-based online platforms like blogs and Instagram channels. What advice would you have on growing a community around a mission?
Honestly, just speak your truth. the first 3 years that I had Voyaging Vagabond, I tried so hard to fit into that mold that every other travel blogger was doing, every other female travel blogger was doing. I mentioned it earlier, like I lost weight. I started like making sure I had to get the perfect shot. And if I didn't get the perfect shot, my day was ruined. And it wasn't me. And that was a problem. So I would say just be yourself. Speak to those themes that you think people need to hear, and allow yourself to have those moments where you're vulnerable. There are constantly moments where I really open up about something that's kind of intimate, and it's a part that I did of myself that I didn't really discuss. And I'm always like, oh, should I post this? Should I post? I just did it the other day because I posted a picture in a sheer kimono, and I was like, oh my God, should I post this? I was like, I have back rolls, and I was like, but those back rolls are fierce. I'm posting it. But it's just like, you know, those moments where you're wondering, like, is this being too vulnerable? Am I being too open? Those are the moments where I'm always like, do it. If it doesn't scare you a little bit, then it's not worth doing. And I don't mean,
people are so gonna resonate with those posts. I have the same, like, whenever I'm like, this seems too much, I'm like, nope, I'm gonna post it. This is gonna be so like, this is gonna resonate with so many people.
I remember it was maybe just over a year ago, I posted my first picture in a 2-piece bathing suit, and I was like terrified. Like I was like, Steph, I can't do this. I'm like, you can see my stretch marks. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. People are going to call me fat on the internet. Oh my God. And my mom's gonna be like, why are you posting this on the internet? But I did it. And it was revolutionary for me.
Yeah. Do you feel like even just posting that photo sort of like pushed the trajectory of your brand like forward a bit?
Oh yeah, definitely. It empowered me to be proud of this voice that I honestly thought that like I would get made fun of. Like,
yeah,
I didn't want people to be like, oh, this fat chick on the beach. Like, I didn't want people to say that to me. And you know, that just is like growing up with dealing with those kind of conversations. And so it was really scary, but if it doesn't scare you, then it's not worth doing. So I did it, and it really has made such a difference. And now, like, I'm constantly in a bathing suit all the time. My mom's like, do you ever wear real clothes anymore? And I'm like, don't judge me. I'm working on my tan. Yeah, exactly. So like, it really can have a transformative effect, not only on yourself, but also your audience. And then another way to grow your audience or to grow your community is to be part of a larger community. Once I immersed myself more in like the plus size community, the travel inclusive community, I was meeting like these like groundbreakers, and they were inspiring me, and we were working together, and I was meeting plus size bloggers, and I was taking part in communities like Annette's Fat Girls Traveling, or Curvy from Girls Love Travel. Just being part of those communities and hearing what other people are saying. I found that community just kind of found me. They realized that I was a voice, a very loud, obnoxious, and fabulous voice. And they were like, they just found me. So like, no, I never bought any followers, and, you know, I don't compare which hashtags do better than the other. I just did what I did. I just did what I needed to do to make sure that the community I felt like needed to hear my voice would find me.
Oh, I love that. And I think there's definitely strength in numbers. There's my cat. And yeah, there is, I mean, blogging and Instagramming can sometimes get lonely, because it's not like you work in an office. Like I work in this little apartment.
Yeah.
So when definitely. You can actually like work and collaborate, like even what we're doing now, it is really nice to like be like, oh yeah, so like I'm interacting with humans.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not just in my bed writing 10,000 emails. I think it's amazing. I honestly, I really, after attending more conferences and like getting a little bit deeper into this community, like I love the people that we're meeting. I'm constantly inspired. I'm constantly like people are like, no new friends. I'm like, all the new friends. Give
Oh
them
yeah.
to me. I want them all. And it's just a really great thing. And it really makes me feel like there is that sense of community within this industry, because there should be.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, I mean, I think we originally met through Instagram, then met at a conference, then hung out.
Yeah,
So,
I totally creeped on you, Jesse. I was like, oh my
oh,
God,
I creeped on you too.
I was like, I'm signing up for her newsletter. I want to follow her on Instagram. Her aesthetic is totally up my alley. And then I met you and I was like, hey, I'm Chantel.
And I saw we spoke at the same conference. So it's like, these social media relationships can be really, really valuable. And they could, there's so many people I met on Instagram or Twitter that you meet in person and you're like, is this weird that I know who you are, but we've never met? Like, right? I recognize you from that little circle.
Right. I've had people where Steph and I have been out and about, and people will like come running up to Steph and be like, I know you from Chantel's Instagram. That means Chantel is here. And Steph's just like, hi, I'm Steph. It's nice to meet you.
Perfect intro.
Yeah, but it's I low key love it, because like it means that they like feel so comfortable that they know Steph, because Steph's a huge part of me, and like they know me, and it's just like it's just, I enjoy it. I really do.
All right. So just to end, can you let everyone know where they can find you?
Yes. So my blog is voyagingvagabond.com. You can also find me on Instagram at voyaging_vagabond.com. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Pinterest. You can find me on Facebook for Voyaging Vagabond. I am all over, guys. So if you just need a hype woman in your life to tell you how perfect you are and that you're so capable to do everything in this world that you are destined to do, then you come find me.
Awesome. And I just popped those into the chat just for anyone who wants.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. This was so much fun.
Jesse, thank you, honestly. And I have to come up to the city to come visit you.
Yes, please. Anytime. I'll show you all the great things.
Yes, I love that. Perfect.
Awesome. Well, I will talk to you soon.
Bye, Jesse. Bye, guys. Thanks for being part of this. I had so much fun.
Bye.
Bye.
To figure out how to go off now. Just a quick awkward moment.
I'm going to hit this.
I think I do it in Zoom.
Oh, I see it. Bye, guys.
Bye.